Welcome to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today because, well, we are going to unravel a really fascinating financial mystery together. It's a paradox that honestly puzzles so many of us. Why do so many hardworking, high earning individuals still feel incredibly broke at the end of the month? I mean, we see people all the time with these massive salaries, driving luxury cars, living in sprawling homes, and yet they're sweating over a totally unexpected car repair. Why? Because the data shows they are literally just one missed paycheck away from a total crisis. Today, we're stripping away that glamorous facade of what society calls rich. We are going to reveal the hard, psychological, and behavioral realities of true wealth. And by the end of our time together, you are going to view your paycheck, your budget, and your entire financial future in a completely different light. Okay, let's dive into this. What does it actually mean to be wealthy? Society loves to blur the lines here, but there is a fundamental distinction that we absolutely must understand if we want to achieve real financial independence. Ask yourself, are you actually wealthy or are you just high income? The media constantly refers to high income earners as wealthy, but honestly, that is often entirely incorrect. Sure, they have a healthy income, and yeah, they have the high consumption to prove it, but they have very little in the way of accumulated assets. And as you'll see from the research today, those are two vastly different universes. So here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the income versus wealth illusion. Second, we'll unpack the psychology of spending. Third, we'll cover the traits of the truly wealthy. And finally, we'll talk about exactly how to start converting income to wealth. Let's start with section 1, the income versus wealth illusion. To understand this foundational misperception, we really have to look at a stark contrast. Income is simply a periodic cash inflow. It's just what comes in the door, but it is completely exhaustible. Wealth, on the other hand, is accumulated assets. It is the money you actually manage to hang on to. Look at it this way. If you earn $1 million, but you spend $2 million in consumption, you certainly have a high income, but you're also broke. You are what researchers call income statement affluent. You look fantastic on payday for sure, but if your bank account hits zero by the 30th, you don't have any actual assets. True financial freedom belongs to the balanced sheet affluent. Those are the folks who have actively converted their temporary income into lasting wealth. High consumption without asset accumulation just means you're broke, but at a higher, way more stressful level. Let's move to section 2 and see how this builds. The psychology of spending. So why is it so incredibly hard to save, even when we know we absolutely should? Well, the answer actually lies in how our brains naturally trick us into making poor financial decisions. Look at this fantastic quote. A researcher shared an anecdote about discussing an elderly couple's finances with his teenage daughter. The daughter found out the couple had an undisclosed, set amount of money to live on for the rest of their lives, and her immediate reaction was, they have that amount of money to live on and that's it? That would stink. Now, she didn't even know the amount. It literally could have been $100 million. But this perfectly captures our psychological bias. At first blush, wealth, when represented as a lump sum pile of money, appears finite. It's exhaustible. It feels super scary because we watch it waste away with every single dollar we spend. But a paycheck? A paycheck feels safe, inexhaustible, and perpetually renewable, which leads us right into a major psychological trap. Actually, a 2021 study by researchers at Stanford University proved exactly how this trap works. They looked at the frequency of income and how it impacts discretionary spending. The researchers found that if you take the exact same amount of money and break it into smaller, more frequent installments, people just spend more of it. Why? Because of how we perceive aggregated versus segregated gains. Crazy as it sounds, we actually feel richer receiving $5 a day for 5 days than getting a single $25 lump sum. We like certainty, but this means that frequent, periodic income installments create a heightened, false perception of wealth. The money just keeps replenishing, so we feel a false sense of security and significantly increase our discretionary spending. Think about your own life. How many small, daily purchases feel completely safe just because you know another paycheck is coming next week? And this effect carries right through into retirement. A really fascinating study by Blanchett and Fink compared two groups of retirees who had the exact same level of total wealth. One group held their wealth in a lump sum of investment assets, and the other had an annuity that provided guaranteed periodic income. The results? Absolutely striking. The guaranteed income group spent twice the amount as the lump sum group. The guaranteed periodic income acted as a psychological license to spend. Because, drawing down a lump sum is mathematically difficult and emotionally terrifying, people with a nest egg severely restrict their spending. But those with a regular guaranteed check, they feel rich and consume double. The irony is massive here. Their actual wealth is identical, yet their spending habits are worlds apart, all simply because of how the money is delivered.
Which brings us to Section 3, Traits of the Truly Wealthy. And this brilliantly illustrates the big question. If our brains are basically wired to spend our renewable income and fear our finite wealth, how does anyone actually become rich? The answers lie in a landmark 20-year study of over 1,000 real-world millionaires in the United States, famously detailed in the book The Millionaire Next Door. This comprehensive study completely busts the myth of the lavish, glamorous lifestyles of the rich and famous. Instead of spending tomorrow's dollars today on flashy material possessions, the truly affluent actually tend to live really unremarkable middle-class lifestyles.
I want to let this number just sink in for a second. 80%. More than 80% of America's current millionaires are first generation. They accumulated their wealth themselves. They did not inherit it. No way, right? But it's true. This completely dismantles the assumption that you need some massive inheritance or an elite pedigree to become financially independent. Real wealth in the real world is predominantly earned through fiscal discipline, immense sacrifice, and super consistent long-term savings habits. So what do these people actually do? The study identified 7 core character traits shared by successful wealth builders. For starters, they live conservative lifestyles. They consistently spend less than they earn, and they invest the balance. They play incredible financial defense. They're also highly efficient in allocating their resources. I'm talking about their time, their money, and their energy. All of it is optimized for building wealth. Interestingly enough, they place a much higher priority on actual financial independence than on projecting social status to their neighbors. And to top it off, as we mentioned, their parents didn't provide significant financial assistance. They made it on their own efforts. They simply don't rely on financial bailouts. Furthermore, they make sure the next generation doesn't become dependent on handouts. They actively teach their own family members to become economically self-sufficient. They also purposefully target emerging market opportunities, often providing products and services to other affluent households to build their own net worth. And interestingly, they very often choose an occupation where they can become self-employed. That gives them ultimate control over their income ceiling and their business assets. They're methodical, they're disciplined, and they are utterly immune to the pressure to just look wealthy. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how we apply it. Section 4, Converting Income to Wealth. If we take all of these behavioral traits and psychological realities and we apply them to our own lives today, it leads us with 2 incredibly simple life cycle rules. During your working years, your absolute, non-negotiable focus must be on converting your income into wealth. Because here's the harsh reality. If you don't treat your earned income as if it won't last forever, you might just have to work forever to ensure that it does. And remember, it might not even be up to you when you're forced to stop working. Then, in your non-working or retirement years, the focus completely flips. You start converting your accumulated wealth back into income through things like fixed income securities, annuities, or safe drawdown rates. This way, you can confidently enjoy the assets you spent a lifetime building without that psychological terror of watching a lump sum vanish. So I want to leave you with this final drop the mic kind of question. When that next paycheck hits your account and you feel that immediate dopamine rush of safety and wealth, what are you going to do with it? Will it just be consumed on a lifestyle to make you look rich today? Or will you treat that earned dollar as a golden goose that can lay golden eggs for a lifetime, provided you don't consume it first? The choice between high-income stress and true, lasting wealth is entirely yours. Keep learning, keep saving, and keep building.